going to share with you 3 lessons about mixed belting that got one of my voice students to book a Broadway national tour. She thought that it was impossible for her to belt as high as an E5, but when I taught her how to do that anatomically and acoustically, she was able to walk into that audition room with confidence, knowing that she can nail that note. And because she knew how to mix belt that high without losing power and without getting vocal fatigue, she is now living her dream life, performing professionally as an equity performer. Before we get into the lessons, let's talk about what mixing is not, because there's a lot of confusion on what mixing is. Mixing is not about blending registers. You cannot do that anatomically. However, I can understand that you want to blend certain qualities from each register to turn it into a mix. However, you cannot blend the registers. So then what is mixing? Mixing is a technique to disguise one transition of a mechanism to another mechanism. In this case for belting, it's about what we do to one mechanism so that when we go beyond our transition zone, we are able to belt higher without getting too heavy or getting too chesty. So let's make this very simple to understand. When you sing with more thickness, you will create a heavier and louder sound. Hey! When you sing with thinner folds, it will sound lighter and quieter. Hey! Everything in between is mixing. So now that you understand what mixing is not and what mixing is, we can proceed with understanding more about developing a mixed belt. Because belting is a heightened vocal performance that highlights an emotional climax in a song that usually results in a bright and brassy sound, we need to consider the vocal mechanism and the acoustic elements that creates the belt voice quality. And this is something that a lot of people are missing when they are discussing mixed belts. I hear a lot of people do a very good mix, but we're missing the sound that turns it into a belt. So this leads me to lesson number 1, start thick. I want to sing in thicker fold vibration to create the fuller and richer sound that is needed for the intense emotion in a belt voice quality. The strong intensity will come from a strong compression. When we are discussing singing with thicker folds, we are in something called mode 1. And what that means is you are singing with the cover and the body of the vocal folds, which means you are singing with more muscle mass. And that is why when we are belting, it sounds boomier, bolder, and louder. You can work on this by accessing your speaking voice. Be very casual about it. Don't try too hard to be pretty. A lot of classical singers who are trying to belt have a big problem with this because they are trained to sound beautiful. However, when we are exploring the voice for belting, we gotta get messy, we gotta be loud, and be okay with all of that noise. It may feel unstable at first, and that is why I suggest starting with your speaking voice. You are very comfortable and familiar with that. So if I want to belt Let It Go, instead of going straight to the song, let's just speak it out loud so that we determine the vocal mechanism we need to be in. Let it go! Let it go! That is thicker. I'm not saying let it go. Let it go. That is thinner and lighter. Now, let's mix. This leads me to lesson number 2, add or reduce the volume. Let's say you start at a medium volume with your speaking voice. Let it go. Let it go. I would say you are already in a chest mix or MX1. In order for you to get that intense sound, for it to be a belt, add more volume. So it sounds like this. Let it go, let it go, let it go! And now we're in the yell timbre that's needed for belting, but we'll get into the yell timbre a little bit later, okay? Make sure you are staying in flow phonation when you are experimenting with this. When I say flow phonation, what that means is your vocal folds are vibrating efficiently and with ease. If you are being too loud with the volume, then you might go into press phonation. Let it go! See how stuck that is? We don't want to belt like that. We want to sing with ease. Let it go! Let it go! Now, if you started loud and you want to mix that, because all it means to mix is to sing with less body of the vocal folds, therefore less compression, then reduce your volume so that you're not too loud. Let it go! And reduce the volume. Let it go! And right around there would be your mix, your chest mix or MX1. Because what that really means when you sing with less body of the vocal folds is that you're reducing the intensity. However, to make sure that we stay in the vocal mechanism needed for belting, we don't want to lose too much intensity, okay? Just enough so that you're not so heavy. Let it go! Let it go! Lesson number 3, adding the acoustic elements needed for belting. It has been observed that belting, at least in Western societies, Broadway, and commercial pop songs, that the yell timbre is present so that it is distinct from other voice qualities. This timbre is mentioned in Kenneth Bozeman's book called Practical Vocal Acoustics. It helps you understand that without this timbre, anything loud can be considered a belt. So we have to be very specific and identify that a belt needs this yell timbre. And now singers can understand what they need to work towards to achieve this belt voice quality. Because someone can do a very good mix, but it doesn't sound like a belt. And this yell timbre makes sense because yelling is a form of human expression, specifically heightened, intense expression. For example, if you need to get someone's attention, you yell. There is urgency and energy behind that sound. Hey! So whether you choose to be in a full M1 belt or an MX1 belt, or even an MX2 belt, that yell timbre must be present so that it is a belt. The audience will know if you are in a belt or not. The next acoustic element we need is brightness. This can be achieved with a higher larynx, a slight smile, and a brighter vowel choice. The brightness is what makes belting exciting and vibrant, and it matches the emotion that calls for this. So when we choose to belt, we gotta make sure we only need to belt when the emotion calls for it. When I'm singing Let It Go, the O is a darker vowel, but I don't want darker, I want brighter. So I would change it more to an A. For example, let it go! I still want to sound like O, but you can hear that I'm having the slight A in the back, right? Let it go! Let it go! And I'll rise like the break of dawn. Dawn too. I don't want to go aw, A-W. I want to go dawn. So if you're trying to work through your mix and it's missing this brightness, try to add those slight adjustments to the vocal tract and then play around with how much brightness you need. It really depends on the emotion you're going for. The next acoustic element you need is twang. For mixed belting, the twang is still present. It might not be a full twang like it would be in a full belt, but there needs to be some element of the twang. And the reason why is because it boosts specific harmonics in your voice. Again, you can be in a really good mixed voice, whether it's chest mix or head mix, but without this twang, something is just missing. And if you're asking me, well, what does it mean to boost specific harmonics in your voice? Well, when you are singing, let's say a pitch, you don't just sing that pitch, you actually sing overtones. And when you engage the twang, those overtones get highlighted. For some singers, especially classical singers, they are cringing at this sound because it just doesn't sound aesthetically pleasing, right? And it doesn't have to be, because the belt voice quality, the yell timbre, what it is calling for, that human expression, is not meant to be beautiful. It is meant to call for attention. It is a sound that cannot be ignored, and it is meant to pierce the air. That's why it has a sharp and pingy sound quality. And so this is why I'm always tying back the belt voice quality with emotion. To learn how to add this into your singing so that you access this twang, you can start by imitating sounds like a baby whining. Wah! Wah! Just make sure you understand the difference between a nasal twang versus an oral twang. Nasal is a dampening of the sound. With an oral twang, you are lifting your soft palate. Wah! Wah! Now you're not dampening your sound. And then you practice that on a melody phrase to make sure you have the twang present in your belt. Wah, wah, wah! Wah, wah, wah! Wah, 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 wah! Wah, wah, wah! Wah, wah, wah! Wah, 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 wah! And then from there, you add the lyrics. The perfect girl is gone. So now you understand mixed belting, at least at an anatomical and acoustic level. But the challenge is, how do we take this higher beyond the transition zone of your voice? If you want to learn more on how to belt higher notes without flipping into your head voice, here's a video where I show you a step-by-step process on how to do that.